This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101. I am Moon. That's my good friend, Matt Rocchio. And we got a lot to talk about. It is the opening week. It is we're recording this on Friday, just the weekend, a day before the MLS season kicks off. But St. Louis City SC has already played a game, baby, because we're in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, my friends, my brothers, my sisters. I'm so excited. How about you, Rocchio?
I mean, what's not to be excited about, especially when you notch a 2-1 home victory in the first leg of the round one of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. It was a big game for City, a big win, obviously a big moment for the rookie midfielder Jose Kojima. We'll be talking a lot about that win later on here in the pod, but I think first off, we got to start off with the breaking news from today. A little procrastination goes in our favor, Moon, because had we recorded this on Thursday, we wouldn't have gotten a chance to talk about the fact that they added another year onto the contract of Lutz Pfannenstiel, the sporting director for St. Louis City SC.
That's right. He signed an extension with the club that will see him in St. Louis through 2026. Pfannenstiel has been with the organization since 2020 as the architect who built the club's sporting department from the ground up. He's a fundamental part of the club's early on-pitch success, which culminated obviously in City SC being the first ever expansion team to win its regular season conference title in 2023. And it's awesome. It's awesome. We've gotten to know Lutz a little bit over the course of the last year, watching him, well, of course, the last couple years, watching him on and off the field, and what his vibe is, what that brings to the club, his hires and all that. And then we've spoken to him individually and professionally. And he seems like a good dude. He's a good fit. I really like him, and clearly he's doing something good. So if it's awesome, don't fix it. Like, don't change it. You know what I'm saying? So having him on for an extension where we're not worried about that looming, him potentially leaving or something it's a good piece, a good announcement going into the weekend, as if we aren't already excited.
Yeah, it's a fantastic announcement. And really, when the details broken down by Ben Fredrickson in the story today on STL Today in the Post-Dispatch, go and read that if you haven't. It's a fantastic piece. And honestly, first of all, I'm going to react to what you said, which was, man, when you look at it in perspective of it being 2024 and Lutz already being here for 4 years. And I know that Ben Fred referred to it this way. Tom Timmerman referred to it this way. Santi Beltran referred to it this way. This is clearly Lutz saying, well, it's time for my 5-year plan to become a 6-year plan. So he's been here since 2020. It's year 4 of the plan. I'm sure they're already ahead of where they thought they would be. But I really thought what stuck out more so than anything was this quote from the Ben Fredrickson piece, again, from that piece today on stltoday.com. This is really at the heart of what this is all about for Lutz Pfannenstiel. I just simply believe my job isn't done yet. This isn't work like a contract. When I came, there was nothing. It's a big part of me and the other way around. You can't judge what we did after one season. There needs to be more time. That's somebody who again, he is now rooted in this club, and he cannot leave this club until I think he sees some hardware. As Ben Fred put it in the article, Lutz turned down offers from Europe, and this is incredible to me. This quote-unquote, from the quote-unquote multiple Saudi clubs that called upon his services. If we've seen what Saudi clubs are all about, and when it comes to getting talent for their leagues, not just soccer, you can talk about golf too, that means a lot of freaking money. And again, it wasn't about the money for Lutz. Obviously, I don't think City outspent those Saudi clubs to keep him, but I do think that his goal-oriented mindset and his drive to want to finish off what he started is the reason he signed another year. I think it's huge. You get him and Bradley Carnell for the next couple of years together. It's obviously a good combination. They work well together when you talk about building a squad that then Carnell knows and wants to coach. It's a perfect fit right now, and I say keep locking them up as they keep having success.
Yeah, it's a risk versus reward thing. Yeah. I see it as, and again, this is total third-person perspective. I'm so zoomed out here, but he's of the age where you can still take risk. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to like gambling and betting on yourself and really like going career-wise, imagine he's not at a place where, and clearly with the signings, with the way that they're going forward, we're not going to sit here and celebrate last year anymore. Like, that's over. They're not here to be like, a really, good performing team. They're looking to win silverware and really up the resumes, if you will, of all the staff involved and the people that put this together. So if I'm him and I'm looking at his age and I'm thinking long-term career, yeah, there may be some money opportunities pulling me away here or whatever, but I'm comfortable here. It's a good city. It's a good town that's embraced me, allowed me to do what I've wanted to do as far as the ownership group goes. And why not take this opportunity to risk sticking around, maybe, giving up an opportunity or two that you see coming from elsewhere, and risk just another year or two on the contract, working hard at a place that really has a good possibility and has proven that you could roll the dice here and win some freaking silverware and really 2x, 3x, 10x that resume. And then maybe those opportunities come 4 or 5 years from now that are just 10x what they are right now. Again, I see this as an opportunity for a man of his position and age to be basically sticking around, to really bet on yourself, bet on the squad. And I think it's a testament to the team as well, that he's willing to risk and bet it and give up these opportunities to get maybe some silverware with St. Louis City SC. That's how I see it.
And to your point about them not resting on their laurels, it's insane that you can find quotes now from Lutz, Diego, Carolyn, and even Matt Seebeck on our show, on other shows. Diego said it on the opening drive when he joined them earlier this week. You should go back and listen to that on 101ESPN.com. Every single one of them, down to Carolyn, like I said, Carolyn Kindle said it as well, is saying that, we can't rest on what we have now. This isn't about what we did last year. We have to prove to people that last year wasn't a fluke, because we don't believe it was. And I just love hearing that. Obviously, like you said, they're not resting on their laurels in any way, shape, and form, from the owner all the way down to the coach and the chief experience officer in there as well. For you fans out there, I mean, they're, like you said, they're not resting on their laurels in any way, shape, and form. And by the way, this isn't the only move that City has made towards the future. Another move was made late last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, Moon, and that was John Hackworth, who was one of the earliest coaching hires by this team, right after Lutz Pfannenstiel. Really, he was promoted to technical director, and really, I think that just shows you that they're taking a team that's still only a year old, and they're increasing the scope, and they're doing things that they weren't able to do right out of the gate that normal teams have, that, teams that have been around for 50, 100 years, they have technical directors, and they have this very stratified way of doing things. And I think they're just building on that. And I think you're seeing that again with the move with Hackworth. It's just every move they're making is for the future, is for a long term, but with the short term and medium term, which is something Lutz talked about as well. It's all together. And I think that's why they have so much success so far.
Yeah, and the whole resting on the laurels thing, you can't do that professionally,
Nope.
especially in sports these days. I mean, think about this. I don't even remember who won the World Series last year. I definitely don't remember who lost it. But here's the facts. Last year was incredible. It was I mean, almost as ideal as it could have been from a business standpoint, as far as getting the word out there, sewing into the fabric so quickly of the town. Great for selling product and all that kind of stuff. Huge. But all the records that we set, the first couple wins and the first expansion team to do this and do that and do this and win the conference and all that, those are great for trivia nights later. That's all great for trivia stuff. But without the silverware, without the actual silverware in the curio cabinets and all that kind of stuff, it's not helping resumes in the long run, and it's not helping solidify and really stamp and make the mark that St. Louis SC's badge, St. Louis City SC's badge wants to have in the league, in the region, in the planet, in the world of soccer, if you will.
Well,
all the things that we did last year, they're great for trivia games in 10 or 20 years from now, or, the trivia board during halftime. But
yep. The fight on 101 ESPN.
But it's not something to continue to just harp on at this point. So they're doing the right thing, and they're not paying attention to that stuff, because it's great and it's cool, and what a season we had, but it's over.
Moon, every year on my morning show, I have to put together around I think I have to put together around 500 or 600 trivia questions across the whole year. So thank you, Tim Parker. Still keep doing great things that lead to me getting easier trivia questions to write later on in the year. You're the best, and I thank you for that. And speaking of that, and speaking of adding trophies and getting your name and reputation higher on a regional level, let's talk about what went down on Tuesday, Moon, as the leg one, round one victory for St. Louis City SC over Houston Dynamo. There was, of course, a blemish there. That one goal doesn't just mean one when we talk about the aggregate scoring in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. The first tiebreaker in a tie after the second leg aggregate is away goals. So, as it stands now, City needs to avoid a 1-0 loss to Houston on Tuesday. And obviously, there's a lot of other score projections as well, but we're just keeping it realistic. Avoid a 1-0 loss to Houston, and you are going to be going on to round two after this one. So I want to get your thoughts, Moon, really quickly on what you took away from that victory on Tuesday.
I didn't get to see the full game. I saw a lot of highlights. I saw a lot of different clips and things. And what that doesn't show me, obviously, is how the team was performing chemistry-wise and all that when they didn't have the ball or when there wasn't a highlight moment. But here's what I saw. I saw a lot of opportunities that were somewhat squandered. So, like, even though we came away with the win and 2 goals, and obviously the big story is Gajimi, I did see, a little bit of early season and first game sort of, you got to see more there. Okay, you could have done more there.
Right out of the gate, I think the first one we should talk about is probably the goal that gets disallowed because of a very, very finicky offsides call. I think that's one right out of the gate because Yarrow doesn't get his head up. He keeps his head down trying to run with the player. He doesn't get his head on the ball. Parker tracks it well, but Parker takes himself out of position to track it. And now Yarrow and Parker are literally standing next to each other as the ball gets volleyed to the side of the box where there's not a single City defender.
Yeah.
And it was an easy goal if you just take away the offsides. And that was one of the times where there was 2 City players occupying the same patch of grass, which is not ever really what you want. And so to your point, there were definitely some chemistry first game out of the gate kind of situations with City where it wasn't 100%. Luckily, though, Houston had some moments like that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's going to happen. But let's say we had a team that's not happening right now, and that's a loss. And that's a loss. That's the stuff that kind of kills you. And that defense has to be solid, dude. It has to be solid. God dang it.
Something that jumped out to me about the defense. Post game, I was talking to Houston Dynamo head coach Ben Olsen, and I kind of asked him because they were getting some really strong overloads where they would flip the ball from the left side to the right side, and they would get like 5 men on the flank against like 3 City defenders on the flank, and they really were using these overloads to their benefit. And Ben Olsen's comment to me was, "Yeah, City's defense will create huge holes for themselves." Which not what you always want to hear about the defense, but it's the honest truth. When you're having a high pressing system, you're going to create huge holes on the back end. The question that I think you're getting at is how can they mitigate that while still being an effective pressing unit? That's going to be the big question, I think, this entire season.
Yeah, Yarrow got lucky. I got a couple texts that said, "Ooh boy, Yarrow just lucked out." Holy cow!
He had a couple bad passes. Like I said, he couldn't get his head turned around. Much better second half for Josh Yarrow. Yeah. Despite them, that's when Houston actually did get a goal on the scoreboard. But that goal, I will say, from Houston, that was a perimeter problem, a flank problem. That was not Yarrow or Parker's issue in the middle.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think we mentioned this last year. There's a lot of really good coaches now in the MLS. There's a lot of good strategists that are looking for weaknesses and all that. And obviously, we've been talking about the defense and maybe some of the midfield issues last year. These coaches from the opposite teams, they are studying our squad. They see the holes in each squad. You saw last year when we had what was it, 70-something possession in a game and lost it because we got out strategized. That was their strategy, was to let us have the ball. And
games against KC, yeah,
and use it against us, and that's exactly what happened. It was pure strategy of let's make St. Louis, expose their own weaknesses, and that is that's going to happen. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of adjustments. Coach Carnell and his squad, they're great strategists as well. So I'm sure they're going to be adjusting and developing all sorts of different ways to attack and play a team, out on the field. What I did see, and I'm kind of fast forwarding here, was something that I was so excited to see, and of course it made the headlines with Kajimi scoring, the last minute goal there. He was a sub in the 85th minute. What I was so excited is, okay, the headline, and I'm sure you've already heard about this if you're interested in St. Louis City SC at all, is that Kajimi was signed that morning, and then that evening scores the game-winning goal in the CONCACAF Champions Cup opener. It's phenomenal.
And we talked about Jose Kajima 2 episodes ago when we were talking about the games that they played in Coachella, and he jumped off the screen for me. But last year, I remember being told, when City starts, people were doing a good job of kind of informing us on, the base levels of kind of just the rules and axioms of the MLS. And one of them was, don't get too excited about this whole MLS Super Draft thing. You're not going to get an impact player from, even if you have a high first round pick. It's a crapshoot. Maybe if you have a top 3 pick, but outside of that, you're not getting an impact player for the MLS draft. Don't worry about it. Don't make a big deal of the MLS Super Draft. And then flipping the second one they have, they trade up in the middle of the first round, and the kid makes the scoring goal in his debut the day after he signs as a rookie in a CONCACAF game. So, I mean, maybe I'm not saying people are wrong about the MLS Super Draft. In fact, they might have just been so right that I should have expected to always be ready for some kind of insane thing to happen from your MLS Super Draft picks. But Jose Kajima, I tell you what, I don't think he played in front of 22.5 Rockets fans like that when he was at Wake Forest. What a moment for him to, and here's the thing. It's not, a lot of people I think are like being like, well, the ball kind of falls at his feet right in there in the box and he makes a good strike. No. He makes an incredibly deft steal with his left foot, settles the ball with his right foot, and then strikes into the open part of the goal. And as he put it, he goes, man, that goal was so open. What? You're a rookie. I don't care I don't care how good of an angle it was. Steve Clark's standing on his flipping head the entire game, and you're like, no, that goal was pretty open. The kid's got confidence coming out of the wazoo. I'm so excited for him. I'm excited for this team, obviously having an impact player of his age right out of the gate. That was just an incredible moment for a lot of reasons. Yeah,
you said it. I think I called him Kajimi earlier. My bad. But Kajima, like, here's 2 things. You said it. One, the youthful confidence, like I'm a first team player in the professional league now, and he's got the confidence to feel that goal was open. That's huge. But what happened that morning when I got the press release that said that he was signed, what I did is I looked up, any information I could get on him, and I came across a couple different, probably like 5 or 6 different supercuts of him at Wake Forest, and then with some other club, I believe, like maybe before that when he was even younger. And here's what I took away from it, and this is why I was so excited when he got on the field, and then of course became the star here, is as long as he's just kind of finds himself in the system and is comfortable with, which obviously Rocchio just said he seems pretty comfortable out there already. This is a guy who I can see as a real center attacking mid. And here's what stood out every single time in all of these videos. This dude is quick and he can put the ball on a foot anywhere. Now, I know that that's what we've been relying on Edward Leuven for, and that was where he really shone last year. But Leuven's not a speed demon. Leuven's not a 85th minute like sprinting up here. He's almost he's almost a CDM. He's a central defensive mid where, like, I want him bossing people around back here with his body, taking the ball and then distributing it. And this Kajima dude seems like an aggressive, faster, younger version of what Leuven can be to this team. So we basically have 2 potentially expert distributors. Like, so we're always talking about Klaus, and back, last year we were talking about Joe Aquini, we're talking about Adeniran. We need people that are going to deliver the balls to these quick guys, these goal scorers, these selfish strikers. And if we have Kajima delivering what I think he can deliver and what I saw him deliver in all those college clips, we've got a massive weapon of distribution when it comes to Jose Kajima.
I like the way you're thinking too, because I don't know how much that classic center attack midi 10 role really exists right now in Carnell's scheme. It really just seems like if he's playing a 10, he wants it to be more of a secondary presser, whereas your classic 10 is playing like a 6'8" alongside a more defensive minded guy. Leuven and Blom. Heck, the lineup on Tuesday was Ostrak and Durkin. Durkin obviously playing the more defensive side. Then Ostrak was constantly, jumping up on the press and things like that and getting things going with passes. So I think Kajima really does fit, like you said, in that Leuven role right next to a more defensive midfielder. I think Kajima's actually got a lot more defensive skill and more of a defensive future than Edward Leuven does, just because he is a little bit speedier. I just think he's better on the tackle from what I saw in those Coachella games.
He's got good quick feet.
Leuven wasn't playing in those because he was getting his green card. Great quick feet. So I think he's better defensively. And obviously when you're quicker on the feet, that helps you, especially in this scheme. So I have high hopes for Kojima. One other thing I want to say from Tuesday before we move on is just I know I'm a big AZ fan, but really he jumped out to me in such a big way. And I really thought it was fascinating. This might be a little bit too nerdy for some people out there, but I'm going to play the clip anyway. AZ was kind of asked on Thursday at media day. He was asked kind of about what was the game plan on Tuesday against Houston. And I thought this was a fascinating way he broke down how they initiated their press. And if you go back and watch the game, man, he starts on the left side. That's where he was playing nominally. But the amount of times that AZ Jackson was making a big play from the middle of the field or even the right side of the field was consistent and constant throughout the game. So here's AZ Jackson from Thursday breaking down how the X's and O's really worked in that game against Houston.
Yeah, I think this first competitive game versus Houston, it was a little different how we set up just because Carrasquilla was coming higher and, we stepped up Thomas Ostrak from the 6 up, and I had to manage that, but I think we did a good job as a team just forward defending and blocking that left side. In terms of attacking-wise and opening the blinkers, how Bradley likes to say in training with all of our 10s, with Celio, Nukby, I think we're all getting better in terms of finding that weak side transition or joker, how we call it, and getting into the box. So
there was a couple things there that I thought really stood out to me. First of all, I think you might
call him Bradley.
He called him Bradley, first of all, but I also think you might have liked that he labeled the group of 10s as him, Celio, and Nokvi. So that kind of just, like I was just saying, when you think about the classical 10, that doesn't really exist on this team. The 10s, as AZ just said, are more attacking and pressing kind of guys. Him, Nokvi, and Celio. So not your classical 10. Those middies are playing back in that two-man pivot with a defensive-minded guy. That was one thing I thought jumped out. But the other thing was him talking about how he had to cover the defensive responsibilities of Ostrak when Ostrak was stepping up from the midfield. I thought that was fascinating because I really think that highlights a part of City's game last year that we didn't talk about enough, which was whenever the reason last year worked was because whatever they had Leuven do, he could do whatever he wanted offensively because AZ Jackson, whether AZ Jackson was playing at the 10 or out wide at left midi like he was on Tuesday, AZ Jackson was able to cover every bit of defensive space that Leuven would leave to go be your primary playmaker. So, I mean, AZ Jackson makes this team work at a different level than they were able to before he started going to the lineup consistently last June and July. He's gotten so much better, and he is 100% one of the most important parts of the top 11 of this team at this point. It's so obvious to me at this point. He's going to have a special season.
Yeah, you're right. And that kind of thing only works if you got a guy with wheels. You got a guy with wheels and you got a guy with a brain that can go up, got to be here and covering box to box. Like, got to be here, got to be here, got to be here, got to be here. Like you got to have the wheels to do so. And I know Matt Rocchio has been the biggest Jackson fan since day one.
He's special, but let's move on.
Do you have a jersey with Jackson's name on the back?
No,
yet?
I do not have an AZ Jackson jersey. I'm sorry. I don't have names on any of my jerseys. Actually, I need to. In fact, let's give a shout out before we change up. I just want to give a shout out to former host of Soccer 101, Michelle Smallman, who got a Smallman jersey of the new away jersey that we debuted last week on the podcast. Smallman got one of those jerseys shipped to her with her name on the back. And the day after that they debuted it, that Friday morning, or that Monday morning, I think, she was wearing that on national television, showing everybody the new St. Louis City kit. And she was so proud of herself, having her name on the back. I just love that former 101, Soccer 101 and 101 host Michelle Smallman was always repping for St. Louis. She always does, but man, the jersey looks fantastic on national television. I'll say that much.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
It was so cool. It was so cool.
That is so cool. And it's a great looking jersey. I was proud to be able to reveal it here on Soccer 101 last week.
And then obviously having Seebeck in the respective morning shows was awesome. We got ourselves some jerseys. We're very lucky. And I love the jersey. It's easy. I thought I didn't know I could like a City jersey more than the home jersey last year, but this one immediately, as soon as Seabeck stood up, I was like, yeah, that's my number one City jersey. And it's an away jersey, so maybe we'll get to see them wear that next Tuesday when they face off against Houston in leg 2 of round 1. But before that, they do have to open the MLS season, Moon, and that's what they will be doing tomorrow evening at City Park when they face off against Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake playing their second game of their MLS schedule as they opened up their season 2 days ago when they fell to Inter Miami and Lionel Messi 2-0. Your thoughts going into Saturday's MLS opener?
Couple thoughts. One, I have high hopes. I think this is going to be great. The weather's supposed to be freaking sweet. It's going to be at City Park tomorrow at 7:30. So, like, the weather is in our favor. The energy is in our favor. The only concern I have really is all my friends that are Real Salt Lake fans. They're pretty aggressive. They're pretty intense. And
why do you know so many people from Real who are Real Salt Lake fans?
Because I toured so much, man.
Okay,
and like
fair enough.
all my friends from Salt Lake became like diehard RSL fans. In fact, one of my good friends, he drums for a band called Rancid. He was from the Used originally.
Oh,
but,
yeah, just a little band called Rancid and the Used. No one's ever heard of them. I freaking love Rancid.
Brandon is the best. I actually just bought one of his pickleball paddles for my son. But Brandon, after he got into Rancid, Lars got him really into soccer, into the EPL. Actually, not even the EPL, into the championship, because Lars is a huge Millwall fan. So he got Brandon. It's like hardcore in the Millwall, and like Brandon like started loving soccer, dude. He started loving it, and we talk about it. And he joined up on some leagues. So every time I'd go out to Salt Lake, we would either play futsal with his team, or I went out a couple times and played with his team. And dude, first of all, playing soccer in Salt Lake City is freaking tough, dude. Up in the altitude.
Oh my God, I can't imagine.
Like I'm in better, quote unquote, better shape than all these guys, and they were just running circles around us because we were just sucking air the entire time. But he got so into it, and he got really into RSL. He's really good friends with Nick. What's a former keeper? I mean, he won a MLS Cup with him. Gosh dang it, I can't remember his name. Anyways, he's got some of the sickest stuff, and even like medals, and he's got Messi jerseys, and he went all in, and he was responsible for their Believe, like their whole campaign, because he wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wrote and produced and did their whole chant, like an RSL chant, like a full-blown punk rock meets soccer sort of chant, and recorded a video for it and all that. And that's actually what I proposed to St. Louis City SC, and they were not interested. Right. But hey, maybe we'll give it a couple of years and they'll be interested in doing it.
This is a very big tangent. If you ever need a little boost of energy, Ruby Soho by Rancid is a fantastic freaking song to just give you a real boost of energy. It's been one of my favorites since I was 12 years old, I think.
Yeah, man. And Out Come the Wolves is one of my favorite records of all time.
Fantastic. I can't help
he joined that band, like, both of us were like, oh my gosh, you're in Rancid.
That's awesome.
But he's been in Rancid forever now, like 10 or 15
all right,
years.
so here's my thing.
I'm sure he and I are going to be text fighting tomorrow.
This is what I was going to say. I think you're going to have a positive text fight in your favor, because here's the thing. RSL can be very defensively stingy, except they have problems against teams that are able to press them high, which obviously City's doing at an even higher level than they did last year. And Miami forced 17 interceptions against Real Salt Lake 2 days ago. I think that could be a big thing. The one thing I will say in Real Salt Lake's favor is their 3 biggest offseason additions haven't really played yet. They added maybe one of the best young players in the entire of North America, and Fidel Barajas last year. He came off the bench in their first game. Their championship buy from Middlesbrough, Matty Crooks, is not in full fitness yet because they signed him like a week and a half ago. I don't think he's going to be playing tomorrow. And they signed a new fullback who I also don't think is going to be playing tomorrow. So I don't think RSL's coming into this game on the best of turns, just because they just played a game 2 days ago. It didn't go well for them. They're giving up a lot of turnovers right out of the gate, and their lineup is not 100% ready from what it was. They lost a couple big players as well. If City can continue to create the same kind of opportunities they did on Tuesday, probably finish a couple more, I think this should be a pretty good game for them on Saturday.
Yeah, I think we're all right. Real had I think a better back half of the season last year, and they had an okay away record, so they're not a bad squad on the road traditionally.
Yeah.
I think they'll put up a good fight, but I think that as long as we're hitting on all cylinders and do not make defensive mistakes.
And well, here's and I do have to wonder. The biggest thing for me going into Saturday is just the roster and the lineup decisions, because this is right out of the gate in the season. So this is different than when you're later on in the season. You have 3 games in 8 days or 7 days, but it's still 3 games in 7-8 days, and that's going to be crucial. I just want to play another piece of audio from Thursday. This was AZ Jackson when he was asked about if he specifically can play all 3 games in just an 8-day span.
I think it's more so mental. I think Jared Phillips, he was talking about it takes 48 hours for the body to recover, and we have 3 days in between each game. I think it's possible for myself or anybody on the team to recover, and we have a great depth on the team as well. So if anybody is stepping up, and we're all ready and we're all mentally focused.
Respect to AZ Jackson, I trust him that when he says that he's confident that he can play all 3 games. But I do think there are probably some players on the roster who can't. So I'm fascinated to see what kind of moves we see with the lineup. What my expectations would be right out of the gate. I would expect that we see more of Edward Leuven. Only played about 30 minutes. I would expect maybe to see a start from him, with the plan for him to be a subbed out at 60. So I would expect maybe a start from Edward Leuven. I think Nielsen will get the nod, because I don't think you want to be playing Tim Parker 3 times. Maybe they play Timmy on Saturday, and then Nielsen gets the nod against Houston. Then again, Tim Parker playing against Houston, that maybe he had something he really wants to do on a personal level. So I'm not sure. I just don't think you can get away with playing Tim Parker all 3 games.
So hey, if you had to sit Parker, which one would you sit him? It's your decision. It's Matt Rocchio. Coach Rocchio, can I play both games, please? No, you can't.
I would play I would not play Parker in Houston. I would play him again on Saturday. I'd let Nielsen, who he's not 100% match fit, because he was also getting the green card, so he didn't have the same ramp up issue. He has the same ramp up issue that Leuven has. So I would wait to play Nielsen on Tuesday in Houston. So I would go Parker again. The issue with the back 4 kind of change-ups that got a wrench thrown in is that Hebert banged up his knee in practice on Thursday. He was like, I thought it would be 100% for sure to go, that he'd be starting at center back instead of Yarrow, just to keep that rotation going. I'm not sure about that. I do expect Nicholas Duyer on the left side of the defensive 4, with Nerwinski probably at the right side. I just think it's smart to shift things up when you play this kind of style. And then at the same time, offensively, when you have guys like Nokvi and Celio who didn't play a full game, Nokvi didn't get in at all. Celio got in for a little bit. When you have those guys, I think it makes sense to sub those guys in and give a Denerin and a Klaus some time on the bench, some extended time on the bench. Maybe you start both Denerin and Klaus, but you pull one of them at 45. But I'm a big proponent of, when you have depth and you have these kind of weeks, you have to utilize it, and you have to utilize it often, so that we're not talking about this being a big difference in February as it is in June, as it is in September. We can't have another situation where people are wondering, these guys have played too many minutes, what's going to happen now that the playoffs hit? You have to be planning in February for your decisions to be made in September. I know it's difficult, but that's the big picture that we expect managers to look at, and maybe not fans or players to focus on. But Bradley Carnell has to be thinking about what happens in 6 months.
Yep. Scoreline for tomorrow.
Oh man, I'm on a good run with the scorelines lately. I'm gonna go with a 3-1 victory for St. Louis City SC. Again, I think the offense is going really well. I know people are really harping on the finishing issues from Saturday. I honestly thought that Steve Clark had a great game, had a couple of wild saves. I know the numbers don't say they had a dominant game. I think they're putting in 3 against Real Salt Lake. They might all be in the second half, because that kind of seems to be how City plays, where things build up and then finally they just break down the dam and then things rush through. I think they get 3 goals, and I'm going to say the first one is off a press combination from Klaus, Denerin, and AZ early on in the second half, before probably 1 or 2 of those guys get subbed out. That press from those guys is going to be deadly all season.
Yep, I see a shutout as long as the defense does not get caught. I think the energy from City Park is going to be absurd, and we're going to have a 2-0 shutout or a 3-0 shutout, depending on how Real Salt Lake decides to actually show up. But I'm calling it. I'm calling it now. I think the energy is going to be impossible for the Utahians for the Mutes to overcome.
I think this team, this isn't like a crazy. This isn't a hot take. I think City's better than they were last year, and I know people think I don't think they played over their expectations, and that's probably true. So that's maybe it's just they're going to play at the same level because this is the level they're at instead of playing above it. I really do think this team's better. I think the depth is much better. I don't think we talked about it much, but I think Thomas Totland was incredible in that first game. I thought he was really solid. He had some shots that I thought were pretty special. I think Klaus and Adeniran are super special players. The one thing I'm excited to see it that we didn't see last year that I think you're going to see this year, I think Tuesday's game changed when the one-on-one creativity and the stars on this team started coming out. Adeniran made an incredible run off the touchline and almost blasted one in from 23 yards out. AZ Jackson had a special play in the midfield where he volleyed the ball to himself to create extra space. I really think that this team, when they get more expressive, they dominate. And it gets problematic sometimes defensively. As you saw with that goal against Houston, where guys are slide tackling and they're taking risks on tackles that they shouldn't be. You got to know what's behind you. But overall, I really do think that this City team is better than they were last year. And I think we're going to see it on the field. Now, the big question is, Moon, does the replacement referees worry you?
Oh, no. Listen, man, the referees are a part of the game, replacing this whole thing. Keep that out of your head. I don't think that's a healthy thing to think about. We're not supposed to think about that. If we have to complain about something just totally like in violation of everything right, then we'll complain after the fact. But worrying about it now, listen, worry is a sin, bro. Then you're just experiencing the pain twice. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry, bro. Don't worry.
To your point, you're right there. But I will say this: MLS, get it figured out. Pay them a little bit more, get them better flight schedules, help them pay for more flights so they're not only paying for like the playoff games. The league, especially in soccer, where offsides and handballs can shift games in the biggest moments. I mean, one handball can completely change your season. It's more, I really think it's even a bigger deal, those one little plays in soccer, than any other sport. And so officials matter because of that. So get it right. Everyone's making hand over fist. If we need to take down Messi's percentage of Apple TV Plus revenue from 10% to 9.5%, so we can pay the refs who are actually making the games flow a little bit better every day, pay them just a little bit more and get them clean and get them a better flight schedule, help them pay for more flights. Let's do it. It'll be better for the game just as much as bringing over every 35-year-old star from Europe is too. A clean, consistent product is so important in American sports, and that's what you risk when you let these kind of things slip away. Get it right and get the refs back on the field. That's all I got to say on that, Moon.
I do agree with you, but I'm not going to worry about it until
No, that's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it until it's a huge problem.
Hey, back to the creativity thing just for a second. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to in Kojima, dude. Like, I think he's we already talked about, confidence. He seems to have the confidence, and I think he's going to bring a lot of creativity. And I 100% agree with Rocchio here that this is a better squad than it was last year. And as long as we get the luck, which is something that you need in any sport, really, as long as we get the luck, don't make mistakes. I think this will be an exceptional season. We're going to see more talent out of this squad.
You just made me think. By the way, I think we'll see Blom instead of Durkin, and I will be honestly kind of irked now. If Leuven starts on Saturday, it will bother me if Kojima isn't the 65th minute sub for Edu Leuven. That it seems like it'll be perfect. Like you said earlier, their styles fit perfectly to just sub him into that role. If Edu starts in the 63rd minute, I better see 85 or whatever Jose is. I think he's 85. He better be up and warming up to come in for Edu, because that's the perfect combination to fill out 90 minutes on Saturday. Make it happen, Bradley.
I agree. He's on his way to a lower number anytime here.
Hey, Mario Balotelli, it can work for him.
Well, I guess so. But let's just not act like Balotelli.
Okay.
So yeah, let's not follow his behavior. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up, man. It's going to be an exciting weekend. Can't wait to spend some time with you next week.
And not just the weekend, because I think we're going to be doing an episode late next week, which means by the time we talk again, we will have RSL done, and also we will be knowing whether or not City is moving on to round 2 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Because again, Tuesday night they are in Houston, and again, here's how it works: you have a 2-1 aggregate lead. All you need to do is avoid losing 1-0 because they have that stupid away goal tiebreaker differential. So if you lose 2-1, well, then it would be tied up at 3 games apiece, and we'd be going 3 goals apiece, and then there'd be extra time. You wouldn't lose in regulation. So it's just that 1-0 loss they want to avoid on Tuesday, and as long as they avoid that, there's a good chance we're talking about CONCACAF Champions Cup round 2 next week, Boone.
Yep. It's an exciting next couple of days. Rocchio, I'm sure we'll be texting back and forth, and all of our friends will be yelling at us and yelling at, this guy got lucky and finish and all sorts of things like go.